and no one's in the waiting room now. So I'm going to start the meeting, and we're going to go into executive session in a minute, but I thought I would start by sharing my screen and saying I'd like to make a motion to open the New Paltz Town Board as Police Commission meeting for August 20th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. This meeting is being recorded and it'll be uploaded to our to YouTube site tomorrow. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I think I'm not sure if it's on this one, but we're gonna go into executive session to have a discussion, and I would like to make a motion to go into executive session. I'm going to invite the police chief and our labor attorney to join us.
Second, Alex.
Oh, wait, before we do that, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I'm going to like to make a motion to go into executive session and ask our labor attorney and chief of police to join us.
Second, Alex.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to put people in the waiting room. I have started the recording, and I would admit everyone to the meeting. Hello, everyone. We're coming out of executive session. Executive session. Happens every time. Sorry about that, everyone. Once we start streaming, so we are streaming on YouTube, and I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second, David.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And so we would like to make a motion to recommend to the town board that we offer Officer Michelle Yeager a full-time position. So we are
Second, Alex.
streaming on YouTube. And, hold on a sec, guys. Sorry. Come out of executive session.
Second, David.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, guys. I'm not sure why this is. Make a motion to recommend to the town board that we offer Officer Michelle Yeager a full-time position.
Second, Alex.
On YouTube. Out of executive session. All in favor? Sorry about this. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure why this is. Make a motion to recommend to the town board that we offer Officer Michelle Yeager a full-time position.
Second, Alex.
We're in like some loop here, guys. Sorry about that. All right. So with that, let's open up public comment.
I think we needed to have a final vote on
Yes.
the officer. I think Alex seconded, and now we need to hear from everybody.
Thanks, David. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And so with that, I'd like to open up the public input for the Town Board of Police Commission. Anyone who has called in, you can raise your hand, I think with *9. And if people have comments for the Police Commission portion of the meeting, please raise your hand and we'll try to keep comments to 3 minutes. And we're running a little bit behind because we had some executive session issues. So if anyone has any comments, please raise your hand. Aurel?
I guess I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but I am interested in finding out what has been going on with the steering committee for the police reform and reinvention committee.
Dan, do you have any comments on that? We've been, I know that I have not been in touch with them after we appointed them at the last meeting, but I'm not. Dan, do you?
I can give a real brief update. So there actually is big news in the sense that earlier this week, the state finally issued some guidelines for what these commissions should look like. It's a pretty lengthy document. It's about 100 pages long. So that was important because we, along with most communities, were also kind of struggling with the broader scope of this. Beyond that, what's happened is that they've met collectively as a group to try to kind of figure out what, I'm sorry, they've met as a group to try to collectively understand a good format to go forward with the public and how they're integrating community members as well. They've received a number of documents from the police chief, and I believe you guys had a meeting recently as well. And they're planning on kind of having a public meeting in the immediate future, but there's not a date yet for that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments for the Town Board of Police Commission? If not, I'd like to move on to the monthly report. Chief?
I had a letter that I wrote because I was thought that the town clerk would read it into the minutes, but I don't know if that happened or if I should read it now.
Is this for the Police Commission or the Town Board?
It has to do with both, I think.
Okay. If you sent it to the clerk, she has sent it to us, and we all have copies, and we have it is entered into the official minutes.
Okay.
But you're welcome to say anything if you have anything you want to say, you're more than welcome to say it as well. I don't want anyone to feel like they're silenced.
Oh, I just would like to officially request that the police enforce the no through trucks on Henry Du Bois Drive and enforce the stop signs and try to do whatever they can to help mitigate the traffic and the danger on this road. So that I've always thought that, but I guess I've never asked it officially. So I wanted to officially ask the police department to please pay some attention to it. It's getting out of hand, the traffic and the danger on this road.
So we are able to talk right now.
Thank you. So if anyone else has any other comments, if not, Chief, I'll hand it over to you for the monthly report.
Thank you, Supervisor. I have a couple of announcements to start out with. Tomorrow is a virtual Narcan training from 1 to 2. I don't know if registration is opened up or is still open, but if you can check, you can go to the New Paltz Opioid Prevention Team website. And on August 31st, it's International Overdose Awareness Day. And we're going to be out at Hasbrook Park along with the office of the Town Office of Wellness and New Paltz Safe assisting with Narcan training. There'll be training their distribution of Narcan kits, drug destruction pouches, harm reduction materials. People can also dispose of meds there. We'll be able to collect that, collect used or unused or unwanted medication there. And that's going to be from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. over at Hasbrook Park. Our next conversations with the police are going to be on September 17th. And we're going to do it at noon in the post office, the post office lot. The picnic tables there is figure maybe try to accommodate some people at lunch. They can bring some food down, hang out, eat their lunch, and maybe we can have some conversations. We had this month was actually just before the police commission meeting over at Hasbrook Park, so it was nice. But we'll be continuing that on September 17th. As far as the report goes, just a couple things I want to point out in my report. For defensive actions, there were none that we had this month, but we are now registered with the FBI use of force database, and we've updated them for 2020. 0 reports were filed, none that meet the criteria for the FBI database. As well, DCJS, we continue to report as needed to the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Service database as well. And we are up to date with them, and no reports were filed. I did note on about equipment. 342 is back in service. We got a brand new motor from Ford. It was under warranty, the vehicle. So that vehicle is back in service and operational. And on the next page, just note that, and I think the lieutenant also noted in his training report that we distributed the new policy, the right to know policy, where requiring officers to hand out business cards. And I've sent you a copy of that policy, and a copy of the policy is also on our website. I did want to point out under the detective division, the one investigation that I think it's the third one that was noted in that report, where the detectives indicate that an arrest was expected. We actually did make an arrest in this case. We'll be issuing a press release tomorrow on this. It was a really thorough job done by the detectives. So we'll be sending out a press release on that, but I did want to make a note of that for everyone as well. In terms of letters of commendation, I think we had 3 letters of commendation. The first, it's from an email. We received a phone call. It was by phone. It's for Officers Bernhardsen and Redmond. They had responded to a suspicious activity call. The homeowner wanted to compliment the officers on their response. And actually, this call relates to that arrest I just mentioned with the break-in. So they just was thankful for them and their response and how they handled the case. The second letter of commendation was for Sergeant Fuco, Officers Peace and Yant, as well as Detective Sergeant Sutton, from the family of a recently deceased individual who just was appreciative of the way they handled the matter. Definitely a difficult time for the family, and just were appreciative for everything that the officers had done for them. And then the last was just a general thank you that we had received from a community member. So I just included that as well. In terms of the training, I did a couple things I wanted to point out. Officers Town and Marsh completed phase 2 of the police academy. So they are now participating in the field training program. They actually just completed the requisite hours for the Department of Criminal Justice Services. They'll continue through our field training program for a little bit longer, but they're doing very well. Just to indicate also that Lieutenant Butler and Detective Judge spent some days up there as instructors, which is what we do. It helps offset any costs for the police academy. We do not pay for the officers to attend phase 2. So we provide instructors as an in-kind form of payment. So it helps us, and it allows us to spend a little bit more time with our officers or probationary officers during the training phase and get to know them a little bit better. So it seems to work well.
I was wondering about that. That's I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed that they were spending some time up there, and that's a nice setup. Thanks.
Yeah, it works well. Other than that, I didn't have anything else in the report that I wanted to note, unless somebody else has any questions about anything that I may have overlooked in there.
I don't want to get into the specifics, but there's one incident in there, and we've talked about it, but the officers helped with some medical issues. Thank the officers that were involved in that case.
I will.
I'm glad they were there.
I will.
And with that, so if there's nothing else, we can talk about the installation of the Sharps disposal kiosk at New Paltz Police Department and the MOU.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know if there are any questions.
Yeah. Are there any questions on that?
I just had one question, Chief. On the July 2020 statistics.
Yep.
The number of shifts the officers are carrying. What is a full load?
Shift wise?
Yeah.
I believe it's 20 shifts in the month is what you would normally have.
So the officer, going up to 23, 24, that's kind of like, you kind of noted that, morale and things like that get a little bit dicey when people are overworking and having to cover a bunch of shifts. Is this, I haven't looked at the statistics every month, but when you look at the statistics there, you like, there's too many people doing too many shifts? Or what does that look like to you when you look at that?
Some people are going to want to work the overtime. Others, not so much. I don't know out of this breakdown how much of this overtime. I believe in the month of July, we had, due to the current vacancies on that 3 to 11 shift, we had 16 vacancies that we needed to fill. I think 7 of them were mandated overtime. I don't know how that, I'll be honest, I don't know how it's reflected because off the top of my head, who was mandated, who wasn't. I do know that there were seven instances in which officers were mandated. In August, I know we don't have that report yet. There were 22 shifts that needed to be filled. I'm going to have to get back to you. I'll know that by the time we go over that August report. There were some that were mandate. I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions about the Sharps disposal kiosk? No? If not, I'd like to make a motion to refer the MOU to the town board for approval.
Second, David.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
If I can just, the only thing I want to say is we're really excited about this. I spoke with Phoenix Kawamoto and Jackie Cirillo from Phoenix, the Office of Town Wellness, and Jackie Cirillo from New Paltz Safe. They're really supportive of this. We've had the med return box since I think 2013. And this will actually be the first alternative site in Ulster County for the disposal of Sharps. So, we're really excited about this. And we think it will complement what we're doing with our med return and just, the efforts we're making in terms of outreach and prevention with opioids. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, did we got a vote on that? All in favor, right?
Aye.
Referring that to the town board?
Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
great. Aye.
Aye.
And with that, if no one has anything else, we'd make a motion to adjourn the Town Board Police Commission meeting, and we will move on to the town board portion of the meeting.
Second, David.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, so sorry for the wait, everyone. I need to let someone else in.
You already did it.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to open the August 20th, 2020 town board meeting.
Second, Julie?
Second.
Everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda and just make sure everyone's clear. Discussion. Everyone's clear. We had some items that were added at the today. There's a resolution authorizing the courts to apply for a Justice Court Assistance Program grant, accepting a tree planting gift, and then the warrant. Is everyone, if everyone have those on their agenda?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I don't have any announcements. If anyone else has any announcements, if not, we will open the public input portion of the meeting. And so I just want to let everyone know that if you've dialed in, *9, and you can raise your hand. Otherwise, if you can raise your hand with through the Zoom, it's helpful because I can't see everyone's. There are a bunch of people here, and not everyone's face is on the screen. If I see you raising your hand, I'll try to call on you. But if not, raise your hand, and we try to keep comments to 3 minutes, but we don't really like to shut people off. But just be kind of mindful of other people. But we really want to hear what people have to say. So if anyone has anything to say, please raise your hand, and we're happy to hear what you have to say. I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Can you just repeat again? How do you raise your hand in the participant section?
I'm not really good with this here.
You raise your hand. Anyone know how? So Rebecca got her hand raised.
How did you raise your hand?
How did you do that, Rebecca?
Yeah, so if you look at your participants, if you open up your participants list then you should see a list of everyone on the right-hand side. You'll be listed top, and then I see Neil, Melissa, Alex. At the bottom of that, you should see essential little hand, and you can basically hit it to raise it. Or if I click it now, it's going to unraise. Do it again, and back.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, do you see it?
We may not see it because we're hosts and co-hosts. I'm not sure if we can do that, but hopefully that was helpful to people.
Right.
And so do you have a comment? Or are you just being helpful?
Oh, I was just being helpful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Anyone else? If anyone has a comment.
Neil, I do see Melissa Brown has a comment.
Okay. Oh, yeah, please, Melissa. I see you now.
Hi. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Great. We are here at 11 Duzine. Is this the appropriate time to start talking about that, or would we go through the agenda items to talk about that?
We have, usually we do the public comment now, but you're on the agenda for a issue with the water bill.
Yes.
And so usually we don't go back and forth during the meeting, but we're happy to listen to you guys now. And then you don't have to stick around for the boring part of the meeting also.
Up to you guys. We're happy to follow procedure if that's helpful.
We don't want to cut in line or anything.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we wait a little while? It should go pretty quick. So we'll
We can maybe move them up on the agenda too.
Sure.
Just finish public.
Okay, we'll make sure we talk to you. So,
Thank you.
anyone else? If not, I'm not missing anyone. I'd like to make a motion to approve items 1A through 1G on the consent agenda.
Second, Alex.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second, do we go to 1H? My agenda goes to 1H. Authorization of the budget modifications for cost overruns is item H.
Oh yeah, I did not update my notes. I'm sorry. So motion to authorize 1A through 1H.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, David. Now the next one is a resolution. I'd like to make a resolution. It's been posted on the town's website. It approves the creation of a capital reserve fund for the acquisition of replacement computers, servers, and servers for the police department. This is so we're saving money, and we put it into a special account, and when we need to replace them, we'll have some money instead of buying them all in 1 year. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second, Dan.
Alex.
All in favor or discussion? Anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Like
You have to- Question, how much is in a capital reserve fund?
we have to create it first. We don't have anything in it yet. But they we have to officially create them with board approval instead of just having the bookkeeping staff do it.
Okay.
And then when we put money into that, it can only be used for what we have designated it for. So, we can't then, if we put money in this year's budget, we can't next year say, oh, well, we put money in for computers, but let's take it out of that and spend it on, scratchy tickets or something.
It's object specific. Okay.
And so I'd like to make a motion to hire Michelle Yeager as a full-time police officer for the New Paltz Police Department.
Second.
All in discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And approval of the Sharps disposal MOU.
Second, Alex.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so we are now on agenda item 5, which is the water bill dispute for 11 Duzine. And that's you guys, right? And so
Yes.
we have the information that you sent us in our board packets, but I'm happy to let you maybe discuss this with the board, and we can have a discussion about it. So,
Sure. So I'm Melissa.
I'm Zach Rossman.
And we moved here about 2 years ago. We love New Paltz. We're looking forward to starting a family here. We were kind of dismayed as first-time homeowners to have this water bill issue. We have been trying to bring it to the board's attention for the past 6 months. I know pandemic obviously is throwing a wrench in everything, but we have, the letter, emails, calls, and obviously, we're able to speak to you now. Our water meter was replaced back in March, and we were charged then more than $600 for a 7,167 cubic foot discrepancy between the basement and outside water meters. In the letter that hopefully is in your packet, as well as the other materials, we have the letter that we sent you, some photo evidence that we took that clearly detail and prove that we've only been in our home since 2018. In that time, we've averaged about 500 cubic feet of water per billing period. So there's no way that the two of us could have used 7,000 plus cubic feet. And more importantly, also that despite having different numbers on their face, the meters were counting usage at the same rate. So back in March was the first time that our basement meter had been read in at least a decade or more. Chrissy Granieri admitted that to us. that it was an oversight by the water department and that there was no record of a basement reading as far back as she was able to go. Even the tech who replaced the meter agreed that they had been moving at the same rate, that it was just a calibration error between the two that could have happened anytime since the meter was originally installed, which I guess the house was built in, I think, 1952. So, you know, our tests and the photos show that the meters were moving at the same rate. So there's no discrepancy in our usage, just in the meter's calibration. So what we're asking from the board is that you would adjust our balance to not include the discrepancy amount. We do want to pay our rightful balance. We want to pay that in a timely manner. We would just like to see an adjusted amount that reflects our actual usage for the time that we've been in our home.
So does the board have any, you know, so Gene, you know, we're very tired of talking about water usage.
I'm sure.
You know, Chrissy no longer works for the town. She took another job. And,
Kathy let us know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the Gene, who is very good with numbers, has been looking things over. And, you know, and what we try to do is we've gone back, we've looked, if we were billing people a minimum amount, we would, you know, credit that, you know, so if we billed you 500, but we didn't, you know, and you paid for the minimum usage, but we didn't credit that on the account, we've gone that, we fixed a bunch of those things. I think they may have done that for you originally. There's still a big discrepancy there. You know, when we kind of look at the numbers, you know, you were using 500 cubic feet per quarter. That ends up being 42 gallons a day, which is pretty low, even compared to, you know, now since with the new meter, which we know reads accurately, you're using about 70 gallons a day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we think there might be, you know, some under reading. Does it account for all of that 7,724 cubic feet? It's kind of hard to imagine it does. I think you've made a good case. It's you know, it's hard for us. We're like legally not allowed to like waive things like this, but okay. I'd be willing to, you know, I think one thing that we could do is we could look at, you know, and I was talking to Gene about this today. One thing we could do is we could go and, you know, don't do anything with this right now, but let's continue to look at the water usage for like, to get an idea of what you use over, because what you use in January isn't the same as what you use in July, because some people, you know, water their lawns. And so, but, you know, would you be willing to let's keep on looking at what you're using for water for a few more months, and then we'll have a kind of a better sample of what your monthly usage is. Mm-hmm. And then we could say, well, you know, is it conceivable that they used those, you know, 7,000 cubic feet? Mm-hmm. Right now it's looking like it's hard to imagine you did, you know, if I take that, the difference between 42 gallons and 70 gallons, you know, it takes a long time to make up that difference, longer than you've lived in the house.
Right. And that's, sorry.
What you've shown is oftentimes the rate, the inside meter and the outside reader do turn at different amounts. And that's usually the cause for these big discrepancies. But what you've shown is that yours aren't, you know, and,
exactly.
And even, you know, before the meter was replaced, you were showing that they weren't. So I think you've made a good case. You know, other people have come to us with the exact same argument, but they don't have the data to prove it, mm-hmm. like you do. So I gotta give you some cred there. It's a nice job there.
Thank you.
Thank you. We tried to do our due diligence here.
Yeah, and one of the factors, well, there's two things from what you said. One of them is we moved into the house roughly 2 years ago, but for the first year, we were still in the process of actually moving in. So our bill would have been tremendously lower than it is currently. And that being said, we're currently in the middle of the COVID pandemic situation. So the bill that we just received, which was for, I think, $60 for the last quarter. I mean, that's us being home 24/7 using the utilities more than we've ever used them probably like in our lives. So to use that as a reference for the past 2 years, I guarantee it's going to be higher than what we actually used in the past since we've been here because of that factor.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, that's why I would want
a
bigger sample of, not just 1 or 2 months, but, do it for a couple of months and then we can have the discussion about it. If you think that's a fair way to do it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, we know that in either case, we're never going to reach that 7,000 cubic feet of usage. It's just, with that said, please, if you could keep in mind that because of the pandemic, we are using our utilities significantly more now than in the past year where this would be, or the past 2 years where this bill for the 7,000 cubic feet of usage would have been gathered from.
Yeah, that's a good point. But do any other board members have anything they want to say?
I think we're on a path toward a mutually acceptable agreement in the next several months. And thank you for coming in and speaking about your, what you're experiencing. You're not the only ones.
Yeah. And we're sorry for the delay. It's been a crazy couple of months, but we're working on it.
We understand that.
So is there any action needed on our part?
Nope. We'll be in touch. Jane and I were we're down to a handful of the bills, and she's going back and we're looking at every single one. And, we're finding some that, there were mistakes made, like we billed in gallons. It should have been in cubic feet.
That happened with us as well. But that
so
was,
we're going
that was rectified.
We're reviewing everything. And so sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
And so the next one is, and I got to get my notes here. Sorry. This is Mountain Rest Road. And so this is, where are we, number 6. This is kind of a, somewhat similar. I don't know if they are here at this meeting. So if I'm trying to find it here, they had a new meter installed and some very high readings for the first few months. But then the meetings went down. They said they could never find a leak in their house, but the water was used. They're asking us to waive the high bills early on. John and Chris, they kind of looked at it. They couldn't explain. So here we go. Recently received the first bill I've gotten since I bought my house, and it appears there's an error in my meter reading from October 19th, 2019 through January 5th, 2020. The meter read approximately an average of 750 gallons a day. That's 20 to 30 gallons per hour. They said they did not have a leak that they were aware of. After January 6th, the rate came down to what looks like normal. There have only been 5 days in the following 7 months that were above 750 gallons, 3 of which were when they filled the pool in May. They're saying the months of November and December were both near 25,000 gallon mark. And they took some screenshots from Ion Water. They want the town to charge only for the days of October 19th to January 6th, where the average rate for the days since that time. I don't know if the board wants to have a discussion about that. For us, I think you could have a toilet valve that's open that you don't know about. We don't have anything to show that there was anything wrong with the meter. It's functioning now. I have, I think this is a little bit harder one for us to waive. Someone could have used I believe that they're telling the truth, but someone could just as easily say, I didn't use the water and I shouldn't be charged, but we have no way of knowing that. And that's why we have the meters. So
Did they say they have a swimming pool?
They have a pool, but the high water was in the winter months with no pool.
It's maddening, because I've been told I have a leak and we can't identify. We've listened and turned things off, and so I just wonder if we could have a process for the town at least having sort of being in touch with a plumber who checks it out for both the town's benefit and for the homeowner's benefit. If not us sending, someone out to check, because there must be a way to, confirm or verify either way, right? And I would personally would love that,
I mean, the district would have to pay for that plumber. So, the other users in that water district, because the town can't pay people, right? The districts have to be self-supporting. So it would be, we could do it, but your neighbors would be paying for that plumber.
Well, not sure, but it sounds like the town is going to be, if we agree to adjust this bill, the town is paying for someone's water, I mean,
the district will probably,
the village, that money.
Well, I mean, we'd have to talk to Joe about it, but most likely is the rest of the users in the district have to pay for the water that was used.
Is that right?
That's my understanding, because we can't, the water, we are billed for the water. And so the money can't come out of the town's general fund to pay for it. It has to be, the districts have to be self-supporting, and that's New York State law.
What about the idea of there being a subsidy? So you don't actually pay for the whole plumbing system to have it checked, but there's a voucher for a certain, set amount that the town will help you bring that, sort of defrays the cost a little bit of having your own plumber come and check it out.
No, I mean, the district would have to pay for that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, that's just my understanding of the way that the districts work, is that they have to be self-supporting.
Is it possible, Neil, we can look into this a little more and get back to folks next meeting?
Yeah, sure. We could do that.
Okay. There's a lot of people looking to talk about the H.W. Du Bois, or hear us update on the H.W. Du Bois project. I thought maybe.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about these, and we'll bring it up in the next meeting. So that's maybe. All right. And so the next item is the conservation easement.
Yeah, that would be me.
Stony Kill, yes.
So I can give a couple comments. Essentially, we bought the land a number of years ago, and we actually had not maintained it exactly as it should have been on the front of it, and we did pay someone to come down and completely remove all of the underbrush and trees that were growing on it. And we got at the same time a letter saying that only that front field can be seen from the road. So they said, don't worry about the two other fields. So that brings up two things that I want to ensure that I can do. One is when they remove the trees, they put big ruts in it. And I asked the building inspector, who I believe actually maintains that conservation easements along with the Wallkill, and she suggested that I bring it up to Stony or to the town board meeting. And essentially what I wanted to do is just use like a tractor rake to smooth out those. And I would note that in section 3.1 about use of in the easement itself, it said that specifically agricultural use is allowed. And it seems to be hard for me to understand how agricultural use would be at least that disruptive to the land. And we would still, it would still visually look very similar. So, but I think Stacy, in an abundance of caution, suggested that I go to the town board and have you officially say that's not a problem. Right now, I know, and since I did brush hog it, it's really bumpy to try to do that. Yeah. So the other issue is we did clear the back 2 fields, but one thing we wanted to do with the land is to plant orchards back there. So we wanted to have explicit agreement that we could have kind of orchards in the backfields that essentially wouldn't be visible from the road anyway. And even if they were, I think it would maintain, if you read the conservation easement, the desire is to conserve the property and prevent development which would distract from the scenic character. And I think a well-maintained orchard would actually be, fairly scenic. So those are the 2 issues that I wanted to bring up. And I almost, given the fact that the easement explicitly says that agricultural use is allowed, I'm almost thinking this is within the easement, but again, the town building inspector suggested I go to the board.
No, I appreciate it. It's always safer to ask, I think. And so, if I understand it, the rutting was made while you were following the rules of what the easement makes you do. You have to maintain that as a grassy field, right?
That's true.
Right, so you had to maintain it as a grassy field. It hadn't really been done for a couple of years, so you had to come in with some heavier equipment to get the larger tree or the bushes that had grown out of there to comply with the easement. It kind of got rutted, and you're asking us if you can just smooth it out. And is that like a safe?
Yeah, that's essentially that's one request, and the other request is in the backfields that we were kind of already given a letter for exemption that we can explicitly plant orchards back there.
I mean, that's agriculture though, right?
Yeah, that is agriculture. That is agriculture.
Which is allowed under the easement.
Both of these requests seem right down the middle to me of what agriculture is and leveling the land and brush hogging and York raking and things like that to improve the quality of the field. And to plant orchard trees as part of your agriculture. So I would be in favor of approving those uses if you're asking.
I had a question, if that's right. Would you think that the the first one of the issue that you brought up of the ruts, were you thinking that was potentially a problem with the easement?
No, I don't think it was a problem with the easement, but so we're building a house on that land. So, we have the building inspector, and when we went to Wallkill Preservation Society or whatever their name of it is,
Wallkill Valley Land Trust.
You go to the building inspector and say, oh yeah, we already know Stacy. And then she just said that, well, she can't really say, she thinks it's okay, but she would prefer that I go to the town board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Wallkill Valley Land Trust, they hold the easement, as you know.
Yeah.
and so they can, and I talked to Christy today, who's the director there, just asking her opinion, and I wasn't finding it a problem either. We just wondered about preserving the, the ecological, habitats and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is a good thing. And so those ruts they're not full of water or something, or they didn't become vernal pools since you made.
No. Well, I mean, last year or the year before, we had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
They stayed. There's not great drainage in that field, but.
Okay, so
they're not vernal. They're not vernal fields.
Yeah, and they don't connect to a waterway where they're
very down at the bottom there's a stony till.
Just normal runoff, though.
Yeah, the normal runoff. That's
yeah.
correct.
And the other thing I wondered about was in the correspondence you sent us it had something else, another issue about material. You said.
Yeah. So that is not an issue because we brought in fill.
Okay. And you mentioned that the house, there was, some dirt scaping, maybe, could I call it, to make it, and you were saying it would make it blend in better with the.
Yes.
I just couldn't picture what you were talking about.
What we didn't want was the house to look like just a pimple on the land. So. The basement, it's actually a walkout basement in the back, and that was approved in the design, but we didn't really realize that it would raise the house as much as it did. But that's no longer a request of ours.
Okay. But the dirt, it's not a big berm or something, or is it, how is the dirt being used?
It's just around the house, just so the house kind of gently grades up to the level it is.
Very good. Okay. Like I said, if you're covering a very large area with dirt, whether you got it from the back property or whether you got it otherwise, it could affect the ecological, integrity of what's there. And so it's not a huge amount it's not the entire, it's just a little bit around the house, you're saying.
Well,
but Julie, I don't know if that's part of the easement though either. I think the easement, when I read through the easement, they can't build more than 2 houses. They can't have a tennis court that's in the view. The easement is really focused on the view from Albany Post Road, and they want it to stay in agriculture.
Sure. I guess I was making a bit of an assumption that conservation easements do usually, that's a wish that they keep, they maintain that ecological integrity, but don't worry about it. It's okay.
So this is one thing I did pass along to the building inspector, and she was okay with it. So.
Yeah, just because you had brought it up, I thought I would just try to clarify, but it's okay. I'm totally, fine with it. I don't want to take up more time.
Yeah. So I agree with David. I think that both of these requests are they're not really variances from at all. I would be fine with, formally, the board formally, making a motion that we think both of these, kind of smoothing out those ruts that were created using, heavy equipment.
Well, I would say normal farm equipment.
Normal farm equipment, at some point, planting apple trees and having an orchard are both well within my interpretation of what the easement is.
Well, we wanted nut trees, but filberts.
Well, planting some sort of agricultural crop, we won't dictate. You guys may decide you want peaches. That's up to you. I think agriculture is stated within the easement, and I don't see a problem with agriculture on the property as part of this. So I'd like make a motion to to say that both of these requests are well within the easement guidelines.
Second, David.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other questions, or can we help you with anything else? We're all set. All right. Thank you. So next is the, I'd like to make a motion to change the recycling assistant position from a part-time per diem position to a full-time part-time permanent position. Sorry.
Second, Alex.
Discussion?
Can I just ask if this is obviously within the budget in the recycling center?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, nothing's changing.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one is the Channel 23 studio proposal. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at that? This is from Bob Fagan.
Yep.
They've been doing actually a lot more with Channel 23 during COVID, and they're doing it more remotely. They're asking for using the small conference room in the community center to turn that into a studio, where they'd be able to set up some equipment and do more work there, have on-site work. I was initially hoping that we would wait until the new police and courthouse is done about a year from now, because then we would have that space. In the new police and courts, the jury room is going to be available on non-court nights as a small meeting room space. And so we would still have that small meeting room space if someone wanted to have a small group meeting. So we wouldn't have a net loss of space. But with COVID, the community center is essentially closed anyway, at least for the next few months. And so I said that I would bring this up with the board. Groups aren't really meeting in the community center all that much now anyway. Private, we're not having birthday parties or anything there. We're not really, Boy Scouts, people like that aren't meeting and using that space. And Bob they would like it sooner. And so I said I would bring it to the board, and I wanted to know if anyone had any thoughts or comments.
I think that Bob and Anton have done a really great job with Channel 23. They were actually able to get a bunch of really up-to-date and new equipment for almost nothing. And they've put so much energy into making it like a more of a state-of-the-art presentation, and a really great way for people to put something onto that channel when a lot of other things aren't available. They've opened it up to the community. They've let people know that it's available. And I support them very much. They put an incredible amount of their free time into this.
I've gotten many letters of thanks. They are, doing worship services for different groups and putting it on the channel. I think it's important more now than ever. People need something to look forward to, and so I really appreciate the work they've done.
I think that giving them a set space where they don't have to keep on moving their equipment, and if it's something that we're not using right now because of COVID and they can take advantage of it, it could also be something that because they have a set space, they can grow, and it could come in really useful to the community come this winter, especially if we're all back inside again, Yeah. So I second it in a major way.
I would like to say, I think it's great. And I wonder about Chuck, what his thoughts are about it. Chuck obviously is the recreation.
I think Chuck's okay with it. We had talked about some ideas of possibly, there's like another storage room at the community center, possibly building another wall in there and then having some space. That costs money. This doesn't really cost any money. So I kind of like this idea, especially in the short term, since we're not using that space anyway.
Right.
And then, we can always think about it later on if, but I like, and Chuck's okay with this basically. Especially since we're not really using that space right now. And so, and it's not permanent. So we're not building a new space. We can see how it goes for 6 months. Maybe they would need a different space. So I really like the idea as a trial run, especially for, like Alex said, I think come the winter, we're really going to need things. And it's going to be a valuable resource for the community in the wintertime to have the public access channel. So.
Can I just ask, I see in this proposal something about once the YMCA summer camp has ended, is there any discussion on the Y doing programming during the school year as the kids are not going back to school?
That's the next item on the agenda.
Yeah, so I'm concerned about this one would be to make sure that we're not going to take a space that the Y might need. If I'm understanding this correctly, there's some conflict around that, the use of the summer camp. And so if summer camp is actually continuing into school year programming, that we just make sure we're not giving that space away right when it's needed.
Yeah, I agree. I think we certainly need to talk about that. And so that may delay their transition in the short term, but maybe after the summer camp or fall camp is done. I think that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, so that's we could talk about that some more. But I guess I agree with that. As long as it doesn't impact the potential for the Y to run this program in the fall.
That would be my only concern. Otherwise, I wholly support what they're doing. Just that, not move them in and say, "Here's your space," and then take it right back away from them, because the kids need space.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. It's important that we have as much space as possible for the kids to make it so as many kids as possible can take advantage of the program. Families can take advantage of it, and that they're allowed to spread out as much as possible. So it's a good point. So I'd be in favor of moving forward with giving Channel 23 the space, as long as we keep in mind the potential use of the YMCA fall program. And that may be contingent on that for at least the short term.
Now, do we know whether the YMCA fall program is going to take place? I mean, because the school system isn't holding in-person classes, do they follow any of those rules? Or are they going to try to continue the program to help families and have it be socially distant?
That's so yeah, that's to get on to the next topic. After once we kind of realized and heard that the school and the fall is basically up in the air and it's in a state of flux, I sat down with Jim and Chuck, and I asked, I set up a meeting and I asked them to start thinking about it, and they said, we already have been. We're ahead of you, Neil. We've been doing this already. These are our jobs, right? And so they told me, but and I think we're all in agreement. We're trying to do as much as we can for the community here, with childcare and activities. And Jim's going to be putting out some information on Monday. They've been working really hard. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing something. The Y, Chuck has been talking to the Y. The idea is that they are different from the schools. It's similar. It's a camp, basically. And so they're looking at the numbers. They're trying to see what they're able to do, how many students they might be able to have, how long the sessions were. But my proposal to the board is we would waive the fees at the community center to help them, make this work economically. With the idea that they would pass those savings on to, people of low and moderate income, just like they already do with this is the same group that runs the YMCA program at Duzine and Lenape. And so where they would just be trying to run, a scaled down version of that at the community center and the Moriello Park and Playground. They've been running it all summer. I was there today talking to them. Seems like it's working really well. We're still trying to work it out to see, they're running the numbers. They may also use there's the potential for maybe another spot somewhere in town that has more space. They may use that. We'll see. So
I just think that's really, really important for us to support those programs as much as possible. The rules about what the schools can and can't do and have to do are pretty strict, and what other organizations, community organizations can do to meet the needs of families who need that child's care to work, and the kids who need that kind of engagement. I think we want to support that as much as we can. Maybe we can get some of the kids out on the Millbrook Preserve too, and enjoying the forest, because it is outside that seems to be where it's safest right now.
And so, yeah, David, thank you for reminding me. Julie and I, we talked about this earlier. And so it kind of also fits in. I agree with you, David. I think outside is safer than inside always. And so anything that we can do as a town to help organizations that are trying to organize, we can do some things with the youth program, but we can't be a daycare. We don't have the licensing and the experience for that, and we can't run a camp either. We just don't have the background for that. It's specialized skill. It's David knows this better than me, and so we as a town, we're not going to run a camp. But I think what we can do is we have the Field of Dreams, we have the Millbrook Preserve, we have the Moriello Playground. My proposal to the board is that we do whatever we can to work with groups that know how to do these things and have the experience, like the Y, and they have they follow CDC guidelines. They know what they're doing, but we don't. We try to pull out all the stops to do whatever we can to make it easier for them to help people in our community.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Very much so.
I certainly agree. And today I got a very nice email from someone who wants to have, groups of middle school children, supervised in the Millbrook Preserve. And we're doing, taking steps, and we were already taking steps anticipating this, and there it is, got that request. And so we're taking steps to just be sure that that we can accommodate that, and also that the original goals of the preserve can be, not compromised, where we have a handle on the potential impact for, we might see. So, and keeping the wilderness feel. So instead of, installing anything that seems out of place, we would use, if we wanted a little seating area, we'd use natural materials, and even put it off the trail where people who were just visiting wouldn't even see it. But people who came with a group of children, for example, and wanted them to have a lesson outside, or simply write in journals or whatever it is, they can do that. So we're really happy to do that. And so if anyone who happens to be listening wants to hear more about that, please contact Julie at Millbrook Preserve. Thanks.
Well, I'm glad to hear. I think we're all in agreement, which is nice. I think that's really helpful, and I think Chuck and Bill and Jim all have the same mentality. Is that as long as groups are doing things safely, we need to do whatever we can to help them out. It's going to be a long year. Well, the next month is going to be a long year, and then then we got to get through October. So I'm glad to hear that. And just to be clear, I'm making the motion that we waive any fees associated with using the Field of Dreams, the community center to work with these organized groups. We can't do it for if an individual says, well, I want to use the Field of Dreams, that may not it's not the same. We're not waiving it for everyone, but groups that are trying to step up and really help out the community. That's what I'm interested in doing.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. With that, this is the the Henry W. project. I'm going to give a brief. I can give a kind of a small update to it. We've been getting some. Obviously, there are people here. Thank you for coming. I have another person who wants to come in. There are some people. There's been a bunch of stuff, articles in the paper, a bunch of stuff on social media. I just wanted to kind of give everyone at least a brief update, and I want to just say that nothing has been decided for this project at all. We don't even know. We just got the final survey within the last 2 weeks. Things were really held up because of COVID. They couldn't get into the offices in Kingston for a long time. So things were held up for a long time. We just got the final survey. They're still working on what we're calling the preliminary design. And so it's not the final design, it's the preliminary design. It's like a rough draft that they present to the community, right, at a public meeting, right? And so the goal of that public meeting is that's the start of the discussion. And the goal is to get people's feedback and talk about their hopes, their fears, their dreams. We met with many of you already, Christy, the engineer for the project. We met with most of the landowners, homeowners on Henry W, just to make sure that their voices were really heard and they weren't maybe drowned out with a larger community meeting. And so that's we wanted to make sure we're still interested in what everyone has to say. This is not we're not trying to be secretive. We're following the standard protocol that the DOT really expects you to follow, where you hire the consultant, they do the preliminary design, you have these meetings, you get feedback. There are some iterations to make sure that it does address the needs of the community. And I know it's scary. I get it. It's not knowing. I mean, people want to know, like, well, what's going to happen to this particular tree, or is the trail going to go here or here? And I totally understand it to not know, especially when it's coming right by your house. It's very scary, and I'm sorry about that. I want people. I'm asking, just wait until we get the preliminary plan done. I think it's pretty close. I talked to Christy yesterday. They're putting in like an unbelievable amount of effort because they know this is very important to people. So this firm, just so everyone knows, like it's all they do. They only do bicycle pedestrian design. They're the leading agency in the country. They did the entire Empire Trail. They actually wrote the book that the DOT uses to approve and design bicycle pedestrian facilities. Like they are the experts, and that's why we hired them, because we know this is it's an important project in New Paltz, and it's really important to the people who live there because it's going by their house. And so they're trying really hard. We're gonna have once we have the preliminary design, we're gonna set the public meeting, and we want everyone to come. We want to hear what you have to say, and we'll talk about it. I wrote a letter that's in this week's paper. I kind of explained into more detail. This isn't a bike lane for outside tourists to just come through our town. This is really a project to make the road safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, cars. Henry W, it was never meant to be what it has turned into, but it also is. There are 5 apartment and condo complexes on Henry W. It's probably the densest part of the town and village, with the number of people that live within walking distance. And so the goal is to make this road safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, and cars. It's not just a way for people to go out and like ride their bike. This is for the community, and we really want to do a good job on this. You know, it's important. You know, this road is not just for cars. It may seem like that, but you know, I drive it every day now. People do too. I see people walking and riding their bikes and pushing baby strollers. This road is, we're trying to make it safe for children, seniors, people with disabilities. These people live in our community and they have a right to travel up and down Henry W. Not everyone has a car. And so that's the goal, is to make the road safer, but also to make it something that everyone is proud to have in their town, especially the people who live near it. And so please come to the public hearing. We're going to put the information on the town website, and you know, we want the feedback. We're not trying to do anything without anyone's input.
Can we say the date and the time of that meeting now?
Once we get the preliminary, we don't have the final date and time. You know, I keep pushing for it. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. I want to get it out there. And you know, they want to have the best plan, preliminary plan out there. You know, because we don't want to say our plan and then say, oh wait, I made a mistake, or it's changing now, because then you lose credibility. So we're trying to. They're looking into like the gas lines and the water lines, and to make sure that what they put forward is possible as an initial idea. That's the delay. But I've been told in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so if people have, because I've personally scratched in, onto my calendar the 26th, and I've even shared that date with others. So yeah, I apologize.
I think we're like, maybe, we don't know for sure. We'll know soon. We'll put it out, and we'll make sure everyone knows when the date is. We'll put it on social media. We'll put it on the town website. There's a special, I think on the town's website for this project, there's a page, and we'll put it on there.
Well, and also, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm very willing to have, to be the point person, if that's all right, Neil. I mean, just to be the one, so that I know there's a group that has formed that, I'd like them to be sure they can contact someone or I can get in touch with someone from that.
Sure. Yeah, they can call you. They could call Kathy.
Okay.
We want everyone at the meeting.
Right. That's the point of the meeting.
We want to make sure that everyone's voices and concerns are heard.
So Neil, this was listed as an update on the Henry W. Du Bois project. I'm not hearing anything new.
We don't have the plan yet. There's nothing. I mean, the update is once we have the preliminary plan and the date. I mean, I don't even know anything more than what we talked about when we all met. Like, they're working on the preliminary plan. I mean, I'm not hiding anything. That we don't have it. Like,
okay. Well, I will let you know that Alta Planning told me that the August 26th meeting is not happening. It'll be in September now. So
yeah, well,
I'm concerned that I have that information and you don't.
I just said that the meeting is not on the 26th, right? It's probably we're hoping for the next 2 weeks, which is September. I mean, we were hoping to have it on the 26th. It's not going to happen. We're going to have it as soon as we can.
Are there any frequently mentioned concerns that we could just maybe briefly address that would allow?
We put a frequently asked questions response together, and I think that's on the website. I don't have it in front of me. I mean, we don't people are interested. Well, where is it going to go? Or my tree is going to be affected? We don't know that until we have the preliminary plans, and they're not done yet.
Are you all aware that Alta Planning is working on an alternative plan that would make the road 32 feet wide rather than 50 feet?
Well, from the very beginning, they have been working on a plan and an alternative plan. You have to do that for the DOT. So yes, yeah, and we talked about that when we met with every individual. But yes, there is a, the goal is.
What are you talking about?
The goal is to use as little space as possible. And so the original idea that was put forward when the grant was written was to have bike lanes and a sidewalk on one side. And then there's what they call an alternative plan, which uses less space, costs less money, and that would be for a single path on one side of the road only, that was shared for bikes and pedestrians, similar to what's running along 299. So I think that's what you're talking about. It uses less space, and they're calling that's an alternative. And you have to have both of those for the DOT. And so yes, that's been part of the plan from the beginning, so I'm aware.
Can you let us know where you are in terms of an environmental impact study?
I think we started it at the last board meeting, but we're not through it by a long shot. There are requests for information out to the DEC and historic preservation, and it's a long ways from being done. And that will all be done in public. They'll be done at these meetings, and we're welcome. We'll make sure everyone knows when they are, and that the information is out there for everyone.
Neil, I have two questions. You said earlier that no one ever intended Henry W. Du Bois to become what it's become. And I lived here for 43 years. So I think I can say I've lived here longer than anyone on this Zoom meeting. And I've seen this road, what happened before the road went all the way through to now. And has anything been done to address the extreme traffic? I invite anyone to sit on the front lawn for an hour and I'm not even exaggerating a little bit. The number of near accidents, the number of people running stop signs, the large trucks using it as a thoroughfare. It's really untenable, and I can't imagine putting a bike lane on top of it without like running it through our yards. It doesn't seem, I mean, I just don't know if you've ever actually, they say they've walked the road, but have they ever actually looked at it? I mean, I live on this road and I have for 43 years, and I would love to know what steps are being taken to mitigate some of this danger on this road.
Well, I think part of this project, it's not like, Christy talked about this, while it's not the main focus to address some of the traffic issues that will get looked at as part of this. Can you, do you put more stop signs? Do you put, traffic calming, like, speed bumps in there? Do you, do you see if you can lower the speed limit? Some of these things we're constrained by what the DOT allows us to do. We've asked this board, I don't know how many times we've asked the DOT to lower speed limits. And we don't have the final say, they get to decide. But I mean, we've gotten lots of complaints and we've stepped up enforcement. There was a fatality a year and a half ago.
That's the corner I live on.
That makes the news, but you live on the street. I talk about it in my letter. I think in the last, half dozen years, there's been, 17 accidents, 12 injuries, 3 of which were pedestrians. I mean, people drive too fast on this road. I've had friends who've been in accidents on this road. To say that you shouldn't put bike lanes in there, my feeling is that, people do walk and ride on this road already, often because some of them have no choice but to walk and ride on this road. And so I think we need to do as much as we can to make it safe for people who do walk and ride on this road. And that's one of the reasons that we're trying to look into this. We're not building it because we're hoping, people are going to come from all over the world to ride their bikes on this road. But the people who live on this road who have no other option, they don't have a car, or they need to, you know, the kids are trying to walk to the Moriello pool or the playground, or they're walking home from the middle school. You know, we don't want them to be hurt or killed. I mean, if you
well, you may not be intending for these cyclists that come from all over the country, but they're here in large groups, zooming down the road, not stopping at stop signs, almost hitting me when I pull out of my driveway. It's already a problem, and they haven't even built the yet. It is going to attract out of town, you know, professional, you know, cyclists.
Well, I mean, I think they're already coming, right? And what they're not coming. People aren't coming from all over the world to ride down Henry W. Right? They're coming.
They want to ride the trail, and Henry W. connects them.
And so, you know, we need to make the road safe, or safer, or as safe as we can for the drivers as well. You know, better. There's something I talk about in the letter. Better bicycle pedestrian facilities make the roads safer for drivers as well. They're less likely to get in accidents if the road is safer for people who are walking and riding. The focus is not to just turn this into a bike lane. The focus is to make this road safer than it is. It's not as safe as it could be right now. People drive too fast. They don't stop for stop signs. And that's all we're trying to do. And I just ask people to, you know, be patient while we work on this preliminary design. And then once we have something out there that we can talk about, instead of, you know, right now we're talking about, you know, hypotheticals. Let's get the design out there, and then we can criticize it, and then we can have an honest discussion about why it may or may not work, or why people may or may not be in favor of it. But you know, I would always prefer to talk about, you know, facts than hypotheticals. And so I'm happy to try to answer questions. I don't know a lot of the answers because we're still waiting on the design. I can tell you the rationale for why, you know,
about the traffic. I have lived here for 43 years, and I have not once seen a truck pulled over for using it as a through street.
I'm more than happy to ask the police to step up patrols, and we do that on a regular basis.
Camera or something, just something, because they think that's their road to use, and it's really not meant for that.
I agree, it's not, and it shouldn't be. This is a neighborhood street. That it's not meant to be everyone's quick shortcut to cut around Main Street. I mean, these are. It
is that. I mean, let's admit it. That is how that road is used, and there's no other alternative.
But if it's illegal, then it shouldn't be used for that.
Well, I agree, and you're the town supervisor. I'm asking you.
I will ask the police to step up patrols on that road and do more enforcement.
Particularly the trucks. If word gets out that they're not letting trucks do that, that will help. The trucks can use Shivertown, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this complaint, and I'm happy to do whatever we can.
Yeah, well, do better.
Maybe a larger sign would be helpful. I know when I moved here 20 years ago, I was on the fence about this house because of this road. One thing that encouraged me was I saw signs at either end saying no trucks over a certain weight. So I thought, well, that's a good thing. And clearly nobody looks at those signs. Perhaps a larger sign at the end of the road, and maybe a warning that this will be now enforced. Because my fear is that traffic is building steadily year after year, and now even if there is some kind of divider between the traffic and more encouraging more pedestrians and more bikers, there will be an accident. It's a very steep road. It's just the traffic is growing every single year. And when we spoke with Alta in our planning meeting, or our introductory meeting with them, they assured us that it was a real possibility to make one section of Henry Du Bois a one-way, and that would really discourage the through traffic and keep that traffic more on Main Street. Now, was that just something to appease us, or?
No, I don't. It's not something to appease anyone. It's you know, like I said, they're looking at the whole road, and the idea is, you know, it's a tool in the toolbox that isn't used for just this road. It's, you know, these are professional, you know, so I don't know if Christy mentioned this, like the highway people, DOT people, they talk about when you have problems with roads, when people are driving, you know, too fast or the wrong vehicles are going down them, you know, they call it the 3 E's. There's education, engineering, and education, enforcement, and engineering, right? And so you can, they want you to use, you know, education is the cheapest thing. You know, you can put signs up and you can tell people don't speed. You can enforce it with better speed limits. I mean, with more police patrols. But ultimately, you really have to do engineering if you want better compliance. You know, you design the roads differently so it's not, you know, making people speed all the time. And that's, I think, what Christy was mentioning when she said, well, you know, one tool in the toolbox is to, you know, change it to a section of it being one way. And I think they're going to bring that up as at the public meeting. You know, it would be hard for us to just, you know, do that without, you know, having a larger community conversation about it. But I think it's worth discussing, you know, because it's one way to get compliance, you know. And so it's not just something that was thrown out to make the residents happy. I think it's an idea that we want to put out there and discuss, you know, as a way to, you know, make this street, you know, and the houses on the street more livable and more of a neighborhood and a cut to it.
So what are the chances that will be in the preliminary plan?
I don't think it would be in the preliminary plan. I think it would be a discussion, right? Because that wouldn't change the design at all. So that would just be, you know, something that could be, I don't think it changes, because they wouldn't have to make it one way to make it fit. Like, but if you did make, like, and I guess for everyone to understand, if we weren't at these meetings, the idea, and I know social media is going to go crazy when we talk about this, right? But the idea is, you know, if everyone is using Henry W. to get off the thruway and get up to Mohonk as quickly as possible, which, you know, I think people would say that's a possibility, right? That's why people are driving down it very quickly. You would say that you could go both ways on Henry W., except for like maybe one short section between two of those middle roads, you know, pick two roads in there somewhere. And that one section would be a one-way. And so you could go one way all the way down Henry W. if you were going west to east, or east to west. You'd pick one of them. But if you were coming in the other direction, you would suddenly hit a stop sign and it would be a one-way for maybe 100 yards or something. And, you know, then you would have to turn down the side streets, and that does create more traffic potentially on the side streets. People have, you know, GPS and Waze in their phones, so a lot of the people who are coming in from out of town wouldn't even be sent down that way anymore. And if you lived locally and you were like, oh, I'm going to try to go and I'll do this, and you quickly realize, like, wow, this is actually slower than fighting it out with the traffic on Main Street, you would only do that a few times. But if you lived in those neighborhoods, you might, you know, cut across and go down John or something else. So it would still work for you. So, but it's just an idea, right? The other idea is, you know, instead of having it be a one-way, you have a short section where the road gets really narrow and two vehicles can't pass at the same time. You have to actually slow down a lot and make sure it's safe, and then you would go through that short, narrow section. And these are, like, let's be clear, these are ideas that we want to have a community discussion about. You know, these are what the professional planners use, right? Because when we talk to the residents on Henry W., that was a very, very uniform complaint. that my street has turned into a main highway and I don't feel safe on my street, and what can you do about it? And so I think it's worth having a community-wide discussion, and I'm like sticking my neck out now doing it because I think we're going to get yelled at for it. If you live somewhere else in town and you love going down Henry W because it saves you 30 seconds, that's great. But if you live on Henry W and everyone's saving their 30 seconds at your expense, I don't think that's fair to the people who live on Henry W. So we have to balance those needs out.
And I think that in the bigger need too is safety. Everybody knows we had a death here, might have happened even with bike lanes, because the police officer told me he was probably doing 80 or 90, but having a one-way would really slow things down, I think, and really make it a much safer road in every way.
And I think that's why it's being brought up, and I think that's why I think it's important for everyone to go to the public meetings. And I think the people who live nearby need to let other people in town know that this is impacting your daily lives, right? So it's not just an empty idea we put out there to make people quiet. I think it's worth having a discussion about.
Is there any thought put into maybe just taking a larger look at the whole traffic issue for New Paltz? Because I've been reading a couple of the land use studies, particularly one done in 2005, where they make some very good recommendations for a southern route that goes agricultural and then SUNY, along SUNY property.
Yep, the bypass.
Yeah, a bypass going to another bridge. There's that option. And several of them have said that the Bike Ed Committee does not recommend Henry W as the bike path because of the small shoulders and the deep trenches on the side. Some say use it, but if you look at a flat map, it looks like a great idea. But when you actually look at the road or walk up and down it, you see how it's not. And I really would love to invite you to sit on my front yard from 4 to 5 any day of the week and just see what you think. I mean, not because I'm trying to make trouble, just because I think people that are engineers see what we live here see. And I think it would be helpful for them to do that before they make their decisions and draw their maps and all that stuff.
The transportation study, when that was written, there was money from the state DOT to implement some of those ideas. That money has, they eventually took it all back because the transportation trust fund, they haven't raised gas taxes at the federal level in a long time. And so there's very little money federally for a lot of these programs. So I think the 2005 study, there's still a lot of good ideas in there. The state and the feds, some of the issues are, there are ideas of roundabouts and bypasses. It's going to be a while before they give us the money, but it's a good study. We have it all on the website. It wasn't up on the website before we put it up on the website in the last 2 years, because I think it's worth people reading and paying attention to that.
Which one, the 2005 one?
Yeah. Yeah, it's under, I think, under the Transportation Implementation Committee, and they're thick. They're thick books, but with the PDF, you can kind of search through for what you're interested in. So it's interesting reading. At one point they suggested turning Main Street into 4 lanes, 2 lanes in both directions.
They did the thing where they wanted one way down Front Street going west, Front Street, and then have that just little section from, I guess, Chestnut to Front. Is it?
Yeah.
Going east, like a little triangular one-way thing. That was interesting.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't have any other updates other than that. I don't have any details. I'm sorry.
Neil, will Alta Planning be releasing the 32-foot wide dual use path when they do release the designs for this project as an alternative?
Yes, yeah, they'll both be. It'll be presented, yeah, that's going to all be talked about at the public meeting.
Neil, I have a question just about the budgeting. I'm not sure how this works. I know part of it's grant money, but it doesn't sound to me like very much money these days. Whatever that total is, roughly 4 million or 5 million, doesn't sound like a lot to me to do this scale of a project. If it runs over budget, where does that money come from to finish it?
If it runs over, we have to, the town, we would have to pay to go over, which is why we don't want it to go over. And that's why they're looking so seriously at the alternative of the path on the side, because it's a lot cheaper and it takes up less space. And so, the sidewalk alone, if we went with the original idea, the sidewalk alone is $1 million. And so it's not, really doable. And I think if the bids come back and it ends up being, crazy expensive, then I think the town board will have to have a real discussion about going over, and we may not be able to do it. So you're right. If it is, they're trying. One of the reasons they're spending so much time on the design is because they're really trying to make it as affordable as possible, and we don't want to go over the amount that we're given for the grant and for what we promised as a match.
If there's not enough money to do the entire length, is it possible that the more dangerous parts of the road would be done along, like say the steep hill where I can picture?
I don't know the details on that. I'd have to ask. I don't know how DOT does it. I don't know the answer.
Neil, can you let us know how much has been spent already on this project?
I can try to find out. I mean, I know like the surveying alone was months worth of work. I can find out what how much we've spent so far when we're at the public meeting.
Do you have a rough estimate?
Off the top of my head, I don't. It's I don't want to give you a number because it's going to be the wrong number, and I can't win with that one.
Do you know if the scoping plan, the scoping session has occurred yet for the SEQRA for this, or has that still yet to come?
No, I don't think so. We just declared lead agency, and I think we kind of sent all those letters out, but that's all we've done really.
Okay, so when that happens, will the residents of Henry W. be informed of it so we can put our input to what needs to be studied?
I don't know if we normally inform people. I can ask about that, but it'll be on a regular town board meeting. We don't do anything. We're not going to do it in secret. It'd be probably, I think, going to be on Zoom for a while. Unfortunately, I don't see that changing with the pandemic. So it'll be like this, and it'll be listed on the town's website. If you want to get notices of when our meetings are, and I think the agendas, you can sign up on the town's website, and you'll get an email for when we have meetings and stuff like that, if that's helpful. But it's the first and third Thursday, and then you can go before the meeting. We post the agenda, and you can see what's on it. We're not going to sneak this in at the last minute or anything. I promise you, we're going to do it all. Things will be posted, will be available to see, and we'll have public comment, and it's open to everyone.
Right, because among other things, the emissions on this road have just skyrocketed And I'm very concerned about the health. There were 3 cancer deaths just on my block in the last 5 years. And that just seems extreme. And there's not that many people here. And I don't know if there's ever been any studies about the air quality. In particular, the trucks go by, and not only the automobiles.
No,
but
it's the trucks in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they're going up the hills.
Yeah.
Stop signs don't really help with that, unfortunately.
You know that. Why is there not a stop sign at the top of the hill on the Henry W. North Oakwood 4-way intersection? It's a 3-way stop sign constantly, even this afternoon. People think they're supposed to stop, then they don't stop, then they honk, and then they don't, and then the other person goes, and then they get mad because they realize they didn't have to stop. And it's every single day this goes on, and it's never made sense to me in 43 years. And I've asked before why there isn't a stop sign at the top of the hill. Don't tell me it's the snowplows, please.
I don't know why there isn't. I mean, someone brought that up in one of our meetings. Someone said they thought that was the idea in one of the Zoom meetings we had with the local residents, and that. I mean, it sounds plausible, but I don't know the reason why or why not. I'm not a traffic engineer.
2 days a year, the snowplows might go by that, could mitigate an awful lot of trouble.
When they're trying to get uphill, maybe it's even for the cars. Just so you know, I live 2 houses away from HW, and I'm a purveyor of all that goes on. I see it all. In June, I stopped a truck with my hand, who turned on a Duzine. I said, and he says, "Where's the sign?" And I said, "It's over there," but like, I know all that goes on. So you have a friend on the board, that absolutely, appreciates the trees and knows all about the traffic and the sounds of the cars that are racing, and you don't even see it, you hear it. They're going like, you're like, that one you're clocking in your head. That was 80, that was 70, and it's
going that speed, right?
Yeah. So, and one thing I'll say though, is I think this is I'm totally in support of this because I want more people biking and walking. I think it's a democratic way. You've got to make it easier and safer. The reason not that many, people do use it for biking and their dogs. A lot of dogs are being walked on that street, including mine, and I bike on it, and I have a young daughter. But, I think the more people see people using it that way, they slow down. They're like, oh yeah, I better, so I really do think it's going to help. And maybe this is going to get a lot of attention. We're going to have a lot of thought put into how to keep the trucks away and how to slow people down, whether it's I don't know if there's, obviously we don't want to take up more room, but whether there's some sort of, they have the opposite of speed bumps in some areas, that actually do a really good job, because if you don't slow down for that, you're going to ruin your car, but I hope that, such good will come of this. You'll be proud of it,
I'm hoping that this whole situation will mean that this street will finally get the attention it deserves for the problems that are on it.
Yeah.
And maybe
I do too.
I do too.
Yeah.
And that's the hope here. We're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to make things better. And we want to do it with your input.
Good.
Julie, I don't think it's realistic to have speed bumps or raised crosswalks on this street. I've talked to members of the fire department, and this is like a main artery for them, and it would be a huge issue for them. So again, I'm concerned that this is just something like being floated to placate us.
Well, I wouldn't do that. I'm not doing that. It was an idea I had all on my own, but, didn't realize that was an issue, and that makes sense. So, I'm not a traffic engineer either. So, but I do think that thought will be put into how to help, so as long as we're not hurting the emergency services.
We all agree removing the trees and bushes would not do anything to help the emissions.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for the town board too, I don't think anyone wants to go out of our way to remove trees or the bushes there. And I also wanted to say that I absolutely understand the concern from residents, but I would just also say that This is something we obviously care about. And in my almost 8 years on the town board, we have never kind of engaged in a conversation with the community like this outside of a scheduled public hearing, which I'm happy we're doing and I think is important, but I hope that also kind of illustrates the importance of which we take this scenario as well.
Well, what we are going on is that we went to a Zoom meeting and we're shown a map with a red line, basically showing what they felt they could take, and with no other real explanation. And that line took all our trees, took all our bushes, came within 2 feet of my apartment window. It was a pretty heavy-handed way to handle it, and that might be why you got the reaction you did from all of us, because that we're left with no one saying for sure they're not going to do that, and nobody has told us for sure they're not. No one's been able to reassure us that they're not going.
Once, I think Christy, those meetings, she doesn't want to promise or say anything because we didn't have the final numbers, the final survey map. So she wanted to make sure she didn't say, oh yes, your tree will be fine, or oh yes, we need to take that tree down, to then 2 weeks later when we have the final numbers to then say, oh wait, no, I was wrong, because then you were either relaxed or calm, and then we don't, and I know that's what's upsetting, right? The upsetting is to not be told. It's like you go to the doctor and the doctor says, I don't know. I'll let you know. I mean, it
might happen. Maybe we take it all. Yeah, we don't know.
And I get that. It's very nerve-wracking to not know. And but I've been told. I haven't seen the maps. I don't know anything more than I saw those same things, the maps you saw. I haven't seen anything since then. And
it would come to, where my house is, there's a red ribbon that shows where their line is. I put it on the side of my property. I'm the one with the flamingo on the tree. Look at it. See what you think if you lived here. You're welcome to come on my property and look. I wish you would.
I drive by Henry W. every day. My name is on one of the trees.
Well, I didn't do that. I put a flamingo. I didn't put your name on it. But I think that.
But I get it. I would be, not knowing is the worst, and let's have the conversations when we know the final the preliminary plan, right? And then some people will be very happy. Some people may never be happy. We're trying the best we can, and we want to work with people as much as we can.
Well, I'm in the uncomfortable position of being the oldest house on this block, built in 1911, and therefore closest to the street, because when my house was built, it was a little back road. There wasn't and now they're saying they want to take another 15 feet of that. I mean, they're going to be driving by looking in my living room window. It's it's really extreme. I wish you would look at it. So, and I know that they're going to have to sacrifice my property for the good of all. It's kind of hard. It's my life savings, It's kind of hard for me to just say that's okay.
Someone else say, you have your hand raised?
Hi, yes. I'd like to bring up another point that I read in the proposal. I believe it was the grant proposal. And it said in terms of a sidewalk that the property owners would be responsible for keeping it clear of snow and ice. And I find this an outrageous proposition. Particularly, my husband and I are on a fixed income. We can't afford we can't clear the snow and the ice all the time. I have a bad back. We can't do that, and then we'd have to hire somebody to keep it clear, and then we'd have to get insurance, incredibly expensive liability insurance to protect us from people who might slip, and that's just not fair.
I hear you on that, and I think that was one of the things that I think came out very loudly from the residents who live on Henry W. That that no one wants to do that, right? And I think that's also.
And was it in the proposal?
It's town law. it's current town law. Like that's just the way the laws are now. So we'd be following town law for that. But I think that that's one of the reasons that the side path, I think, it's cheaper. It takes up less space. The maintenance, the plowing would be done by the town and not the residents. So I think that's, we do hear you, and that we take your concerns very seriously for that.
So why don't you just take the double bike lane sidewalk situation off the table? Let's just talk about that one thing, because you're not going to do it. You can't afford it. Why are we spending the money on the engineering to have them draw up plans for something we know we're not going to do?
And I'm not the expert on this. I think you need to, because, and if you read I'm not the expert, right? So let's.
Well, you wrote the grant.
I wrote the grant, but what I'm saying, so planning and, a complaint that I have had, and I think the others on the town board may have had, is that the DOT is very traditional in that they're very car centric, and they're trying, they're moving away from that a little bit, but you have to prove to them why you're not going to build the very generic thing that is car centric. I don't know if I'm explaining it well. So you have to say, well, the plain vanilla is like the bike lanes and the sidewalk, because that's kind of what they've been building everywhere for 30 years. You need to kind of not argue, but make a case for, well, this is what you've kind of been building everywhere for, this is my own theory, right? So when talking to the engineers, like this is what you've been building everywhere for 30 years, but we want something different than that. And you have to kind of make a case for why you're not going to build the very plain vanilla thing. And for us, that is, it's more expensive. It takes more room. It's not as safe for bicyclists and pedestrians. And so, so you need to kind of put that up there, but, you don't necessarily have to design the whole thing. You have to have a, show why it doesn't work, but you're not spending, thousands and thousands of dollars on the design. You're saying like, well, this is one plan, but this is, and I think you'll see this at the public meeting, right? That it's like, it gets shown and, why it may or may not work, but it's kind of like you're building a case in court. You have to say, well, in theory, this is the one possibility, but then this is the other possibility. And here's why we think this one makes more sense. And that's the other reason we have the meetings with the residents on the road, that, we can say like, well, the residents don't want to do the snow plowing, or the residents want us to take as little, space up as possible. And you have to kind of, you're not really arguing with DOT, but you're making a case for why one is better for your community than the other, right? So we're not having like two fully formed plans, but, and I think you'll see that at the public meeting. There will be, more of an effort put into, why one is better than the other. And the committee that helped pick Alta, they are, uniformly in favor of the what they're calling the side path, because it costs less money, uses less space, for all of the reasons that I think that it sounds like you're in favor of it too, right? If you're going to do one, let's do the one that has the least impact and is the safest for everyone.
I'm not in favor of any of it until the traffic is addressed. I really don't think it's conscionable to put a bike path on this road without sincerely dealing with the traffic. It's a problem.
But okay. We don't, like Dan said, we don't normally have like a big long discussion about this. So I do want to, don't want anyone to feel like we're cutting them off, but I do kind of want to, wrap it up a little bit, make sure everyone's heard. But we got, people have other stuff. We've been meeting since 6:30 already.
Could I just ask one quick question about the mixed use bike path idea? To me, that could be dangerous on a steep hill like Henry. Is that an issue? Is it safe to mix pedestrians and bikes on a hill?
I'm not an engineer. I don't know that. I think that they probably have, sight lines and stuff like that where there's a manual that says what's safe and what isn't safe. So I think they have to follow those guidelines.
Okay.
Well, for the record, we're not here to wait for Alta Planning to release the plan. We're here to advocate for the plan we'd like to see. And I hope that you will pass this information along to them.
Yes. I'm more than happy to do that. And also come to the make sure that your voice is, and I know you'll be at the public meeting, but make sure you come to the public meeting and tell your neighbors that's like what you want. I think as someone who lives on Henry W, if you're saying that traffic is a big concern and safety, I think that carries a lot of weight. And I think it's important that you come and tell people that.
You said it in your letter that it's a big concern. The letter you just wrote, it's a concern. Yeah. So you're aware of it.
Oh.
I don't see anything being done to change it.
I mean, we're hoping to try to do something with this grant. We'll do as much as we can. So with that, if we don't have anything else, I'll talk to the police, ask them to step up patrols and try to stop more trucks. And we'll look into bigger signs.
Are traffic cameras like real expensive? Like, could they put a traffic camera like on one corner, just nail the trucks, get their license plates, and?
I don't know. I don't know.
I did once take a photo of a truck. I didn't do anything with it, but it occurred to me that maybe that's one solution I can ask.
I tried to take a picture of one today, and he waved at me. I was trying to get his license plate because it was huge, this truck, and he just gunned it up the hill, and then.
Are you sure it was a wave?
Well, maybe not. Maybe, but he was, like, it didn't even occur to him that he was doing anything wrong. Is my point.
Right.
Does this town have any regulations as to noise pollution? And for me, the motorcycles are the worst. Yeah. They go down, and my entire house shakes. I
agree. You have no idea how much I agree with you on that one. My wife, all the time, she's like, Neil, what are you going to do about that? And I'm like, the noise is, we've talked about this at other board meetings, noise is really hard to enforce. We've had, it's hard.
Yeah. So a motorcycle cannot be pulled over and ticketed for excessive noise?
I don't think
I think you have to be able to have a machine to mark the noise to be able to prove that they broke the ordinance in order to give them the ticket, is my understanding.
But I hear you on that. Like, they come and I live right near 208, and they must drive by my house and then by your house. So, but thanks for coming.
One last question, Neil. Is this a type 1 action?
We are taking the most conservative approach, and that's my understanding. But I'm not. I don't know where we are with that yet. But I think if I remember, we've done so much of this lately, though, with the other things that we've passed with seeker. But I think we're taking the most conservative approach and being as careful as we can be. Unless I'm mixing that up with another project we did, but. Is everyone all set? Can we move on to the next 13?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to make a resolution. It's been posted on the town website. It authorizes the town court to apply for grant funding for the new police and justice courts building at 59 North Putt Corners Road.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 This last one is, we don't have all the final paperwork yet, but we talked last year. There's an applicant before the planning board. They're offering to do a planting project somewhere in town, just as a, as an offer. Then they're not required to do it. And we had talked a lot about, we applied for a grant last year to take the wildflowers out, not to take the wildflowers, take the grass out that's between Veterans Drive and Stewart's. We're gonna take the grass out and plant wildflowers there, and then we wouldn't have to maintain it. We kind of went back and forth for a long time. We got estimates. It was just gonna be, I think we were gonna have to do a bunch of the original estimate was like over $10,000, $12,000. It's just a lot to do. We were gonna have to do some of the work that brought the price down, but then there was gonna be 3 years of maintenance. And then it was gonna still end up costing, like $9,000, $10,000 to do the project. And it's just we couldn't get them to do it. They asked for an alternative site. And I was thinking one of the ideas is and I talked to, we would plant a whole bunch of trees up at the Field of Dreams, the new soccer fields, and they'd be willing to do that. So they're going to donate $6,500, and we're probably going to be able to plant 10 or so trees around the new soccer fields that we built last year up at the Field of Dreams. 2-inch diameter trees. And hopefully as they grow, they'll provide some shade for the families that are watching the soccer fields. And I just wanted to, run that by the town board and see if you guys are okay with accepting that gift. They would hire the landscaping firm. They would plant all the trees. We would do it, with, input from the soccer league. So we're not messing anything up. But, what do you guys think about that?
My only question is who's going to be doing the watering? I guess we planted some trees at the beginning of the summer and it's been so dry that we're having to water them continuously, or else they would have died. I just worried to make the investment and then have the trees not live.
We'd get some watering bags, so they don't have to be, you can water them less frequently. And planting them in the fall, you'll probably have to water them for the spring and maybe the first summer. But after that, they should be good to go on their own. But we'd probably get the watering bags, and then you could have water them every couple of days, and we could have the buildings and grounds do that when they mow the fields.
Great.
All right. So motion to accept the gift.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You know what? I don't have. And then the next is the warrant, and I do not have the warrant amount. So we may have to motion to accept the August warrant, and I will have to fill the amount in. I did not get the amount. Let me check my email here. Maybe I have it. Christy, would you happen to know the amount for the warrant?
I put it in your mailbox today. I don't off the top of my head, but I can tell you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get my mail before I left. So I'll just have to make a motion to accept the August warrant. and fill the name out tomorrow.
Second, David.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And motion to adjourn?
Yeah, Neil, I just want to note that the Channel 23 discussion didn't end with a motion. And
okay.
And I just want to, I think we want to go back to them just with a, or just adjust that a little bit so that they're working with the kids programming and making sure they're not coming in. But other than that, I think we can accept that with that just that stipulation.
Yes. Okay. So the motion would be that we accept the proposal with the understanding that it can't really interfere with the program that the Y may run this fall.
Second, Alex.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, everyone.